On July 4th, 1949, Daniel Fry had missed the last bus into the nearby town of Las Cruces from White Sands Missile Proving Grounds in New Mexico. Unable to sleep in his assigned quarters due to the heat, Fry ventured out into the desert night and took to exploring a path he had never been down. Soon after, Fry was confronted by what he claimed was a 30-foot spherical craft that landed in front of him, and he was invited on board by the pilot who allegedly took Fry on a 30-minute flight from New Mexico to New York and back. New Mexico, being steeped in UFO lore and sightings, would be the location for another puzzling event 15 years later. A police officer would find himself at the center of a military UFO investigation that would go on record as being one of the few cases that could not be explained by the infamous Project Blue Book. This case file joined the theorists as they shift into high-speed pursuit of information and accounts regarding the Lonnie Zamora UFO Incident.
Welcome to Alien Theorists Theorizing Case File 268, the Lonnie Zamora UFO Incident, or aka the Zakaro Incident. I'm Braden.
I'm Zell.
I'm Dan.
I'm Andrew. Should really maybe workshop these names before we start, hey?
I did. You were gone. You were stepped out of the room. I workshopped them all. Everyone gave a thumbs up. I won that vote by unanimous.
So you went with two
decision.
different ones? Why wouldn't you just go with the winner then?
That's true.
Right?
I did.
That's what I mean.
He's on a habit now of just extending the intro.
So it's always nice to have a subtitle underneath your title.
I guess.
Like it's something.
Throw an AKA or something after it.
Yeah, you gotta hit those algorithms. You gotta hit every single
he's still under the impression that whatever he speaks will be searched by Google.
Yeah, it's what is it, SEO or whatever, optimization?
Vocal SEO. That's what you're going for. I think.
Optimization. That's what I'm working on. This is an interesting case. The credit to this one goes to Andrew. Brought this one up. He wanted. Normally, I would take the credit, but I've been getting a lot of heat for taking all the credit, so I better give some credit. Andrew picked this one. He actually wanted to talk about it last case file briefly, and then was like, "No, I don't."
Bust.
He's like, there's a lot of moving pieces. He's like, there's a lot of, various parts. It's a good one. And it is. As soon as you look at the Lonnie Zamora incident, fucking fascinating case.
But the interesting part of the reason why we wanted to talk about Alaska, the Holloman Air Force, our last case file, is because this was literally a year before that encounter and a stone's throw away.
Yeah, in the same vicinity.
Yeah.
To the Holloman Air Force Base.
Coincidence? Or not.
We'll find out. Tonight.
On Alien Theorist Theorizing.
Unless you're listening to this on your morning commute.
This morning.
So this case, like Zell said, took place a little bit year before the Holloman Air Force Base encounter was alleged to have happened. So this would have been April 24th, 1964 at 5:45 p.m. exactly outside of near Socorro, New Mexico, and it's called the Lonnie Zamora Incident because it involves the principal actor, police officer Lonnie Zamora.
Whoa. Police Sergeant Lonnie Zamora.
Yes. Police Sergeant.
Also, little known factoid about him, though, but he's actually the heir to the Zamora Cosmetics Foundation. My old lady buys fucking shit from there all the time.
He's from the family. He didn't want to follow the footsteps of his father's father.
Oh, once he retired from policing, he went to cosmetics. They fucking
sold
spent hundreds of dollars
to the
that
earth.
place.
He's like, yeah.
We got one in our mall. Right? Zamora's?
I believe that's the correct chain, yes.
Yeah.
So this entire encounter kicks off with a nice, exciting speeding car chase as Sergeant Zamora was in pursuit of a speeding car outside of the town. And while he was in pursuit, he heard an over his own engine. He heard a loud roar.
Yeah, something else that startled him. Like it's like a third, like outside of the vehicle. Not like it's not your vehicle making this noise. It's not the other vehicle. Something else is around is making this noise.
And he's like super distinct when he describes it too, because he's like, it's a roar. It's not a blast sound, right? Like it's an actual roar, and it doesn't sound like a jet because he knows he knows what jets sound like. And like this is such an intense sound that he automatically thinks that maybe the local dynamite shop, the fucking Acme dynamite shop just went up.
Well, right? I read it wasn't a shop. I thought, I had this question too. It said there was like a dynamite stash, or like stashes around the town. Is that
where
like,
the coyote hangs out. He's got a bunch of fucking dynamite.
Well, actually, Socorro, New Mexico, prior to this date, was known for the world's largest stick of dynamite.
Socorro?
Oddly enough.
Just combining them?
Yeah. So that's what went on. Maybe. We don't know.
Yeah. So he hears this loud roar, which is it's like a continuous kind of gaining in sound and power roar. And then he also, to his surprise, sights this, like it's like a jet of flames that he describes, like shooting up from an area that was about southwest from the highway he was on. So, like we mentioned before, his principal fear was that a nearby dynamite shack, a storage for dynamite, had actually exploded, which is something that that could happen and has happened. We talked about old when we talked about the one guy, the cave, the guy who gets set up his cave with fucking dynamite.
The German guy blew himself up. Yeah. That was what was that dome called again?
The Integratron.
Dome, right?
Sorry,
the Integratron. Yeah,
during the Integratron, we talked about the one guy. So, it's just strange. Like 50s and 60s, it just seems like dynamite is everywhere. Like anybody can get their hands on dynamite.
Well, I mean, dynamite too, it doesn't last very long. Like it weeps, like the sticks weep, like the nitroglycerin. So maybe he's had this old shack that's been sitting there for 20 years, and there's fucking, like a car battery, it all fucking bubbles up. That's the dynamite. The dynamite inside the shack. That's what happened to it, and it's just spontaneously combusted.
Well, like Dan says, like the 60s, 70s, all about dynamite. When we're growing up, all about quicksand. Yeah. Every cartoon, I'm scared shitless. Quicksand.
Yeah.
Right.
Turns out quicksand's not very common.
No, I've never seen it.
I don't think you're
going to die
threat
as we were sold.
Yeah, you. I don't. Is it like? What is the global deaths of quicksand? I bet near zero,
probably.
Yeah,
zero.
Yeah,
because you can't even. Well, you can't even really drown once your body is submerged. You just kind of float. On it. It's like, you can't really. Just get stuck. Like Yeah.
Dynamite will kill you. Let's be the dynamite.
Good chance.
That was a justified fear in this era.
So Zamora using his judgment, he decides to let the speeding car go, considering this other event of what it was going on. This roar and this blast could have possibly been something a bit more danger. He judged as it being a danger to the public. He went to go check this out.
Insane. This
is what we thought initially until we.
Yeah. This is insane because I'm like, imagine that a cop, he's following a speeder he's in pursuit, and the speeder is not stopping, and he's just like, oh yeah, no, what's that over there? We got
squirrel,
huh? Squirrel? Well, ooh, I better go to that crime over here. It's like, in what world would you just be like? I feel like you would have in a normal procedure, you would have radioed in and then been like, hey, we need to send someone else to this. I'm still in hot pursuit. But funny enough, I think we have the dispatch logs.
I think so too.
I think we have the dispatch logs. Why don't you cue those up, Zels, right now?
All right, here we go.
Socorro 2, the dispatch.
Dispatch, go ahead, Socorro 2.
Currently in pursuit of a white Bronco speeding. Got the license plate for you here if you're ready.
Okay, I got my pen ready. Go ahead, Socorro 2.
Anapenjo. Jesus.
Hold on, dispatch. What? Sorry. Was that first one jalapeno?
Listen, hey, is Jose working?
Oh yeah, he is. Hold on. You want to talk to Jose?
Yeah, go get Jose.
Hey, Socorro 2!
Hey, buddy! how you doing, man?
Good. How's it going?
Not bad, man. Just in pursuit here real quick. I need you to figure this out for me, okay? I got license plate for you.
Oh, go ahead, Socorro 2.
Jalapeno.
Oh, J.
Jesus.
H.
Vanilla.
V.
792.
792. All right, got it.
Okay.
All right, hold on. Stand by. Whoa, Socorro 2. This is dispatch.
Go for Socorro 2.
We have a nationwide warrant coming out of Washington State for grand larceny.
Whoa. Oh, okay. That's not so bad. Okay, like I'm pretty close to him. I think I'm gonna maybe pit this guy.
Socorro 2, stay in pursuit.
Well, I'm close.
Socorro 2, dispatch.
What?
We are just getting another warrant out of Ohio for aggravated assault.
Oh man, that's great. Hey, you hear that, dispatch?
Hey, Socorro 2, dispatch. Socorro 2, come in.
Yeah, go.
We have yet another crime out of Connecticut. Armed robbery. Stay on the car.
Listen, dispatch, I just heard this really loud sound, okay? And there's a light. It's pretty bright. I think I'm going to go check it out, okay?
Socorro 2, dispatch. We just found out that this person was involved in an officer shooting just an hour ago. Stay on hot pursuit.
Listen, dispatch, this light is very bright, and it roars. Doesn't sound like anything I've ever heard before, man. Like, there's a dynamite truck. I got to go check that out.
Hey, Socorro 2, stay on him. Officer Hernandez is on his way.
Oh, man.
He's in hot pursuit.
Dispatch 10-9, you're breaking up, man. I can't hear you. I'm going to go check out this light.
Socorro 2, there's kids. We've got reports of kids in the truck.
Oh, man, yeah, sorry. Your signal's not great, man. I'm going to go. I'm in the Arroyo, right? It's kind of loud.
Socorro 2, Hernandez is on the scene. He doesn't know where you are. Where are you? Report. Socorro 2.
Yeah, like I said, I'm at this shack, okay? Like, it's pretty loud.
Shots fired! Socorro 2! Shots fired! Shots fired!
Socorro 2, you're breaking up. I can't hear you.
And that's pretty much how it went, I believe.
It's authentic audio recording from that dispatch call.
Yeah, spot on.
The explosions, you got to check it out. You got to check it out.
I understand. Okay, I understand the interestingness of like being like, hey, I think I saw an explosion over there, but you're in pursuit of like someone who's actively leaving the scene.
Yeah, but it's just just speeding. Who cares?
It's a pretty small town. He probably knows who these kids are. Supposedly they're teenagers.
He's like, fuck them, yeah.
Yeah, like whatever.
Like how fast were they really going?
And this is the explosions too. Like
he's pursuing them. They're going 55 in a 50.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like what if
it's a slow day?
It was a speed trap. It was a speed trap. Yeah, he's going 5 over.
Woo! He's like, I gotta get my quota today.
So Zamora made his way down a narrow gravel side road that he was aware of that kind of headed in the direction towards where he had seen the jet of flame and kind of zeroed in on the sound that this roaring sound that was coming from that direction. So he, as he drove down the gravel road, he reached a kind of steep hill, which obscured his view of the actual origin of this. What he described as it's like a smokeless and blue and orange tinted flames, which he had actually sighted. And he kind of like, these weren't just like your orange and black, an explosion, probably something, wood burning or something like that. It was something
and he's basically off-roading at this point. Like he's like, he's full. This isn't like, he's not like, oh, this is some Forest Service road. Like I'm following. He's legit. Like, just like, I'm going to drive up the side of this mountain.
And it's weird too, because the way he describes the flame, it's like a narrow funnel shaped, bluish orange flame, like Dan said. Like where do you see that?
Yeah,
right. Yeah, like it's pretty rare. Like maybe like I don't know, like a hot air balloon.
Yeah, like a gas flame almost. Like you kick it on or something like that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So he takes 3 attempts to make it up this steep hill of which his cruiser is at the bottom.
He's
getting up there. He's getting up there.
He's putting the suspension to the test.
For Socorro!
So now when Zamora gets to the top of this hill and he sights this object, right? He can kind of see this like bright, shiny object down in the arroyo, which is to most people who don't know what an arroyo is, it's pretty much like a dried up stream bed that usually is.
I thought you were saying Oreo with an accent.
It's usually like it's kind of like a seasonal flooding stream that'll, during the rainy seasons will, fill up. But down there in this wide arroyo, he has this shiny object. And at first he thought this was some type of vehicle, like a car had somehow like flipped over, made it down into the arroyo, and maybe it was like on fire or something like that. Like that was his first initial thought.
I would imagine it wouldn't be all that uncommon, right?
I mean,
that's kind of what your eyes would think, right? Like,
yeah. Well, I would say going into this scene, as you're trying to make sense of it, you would go to what you know the most. And so like for an officer like him, like he's like, oh, it's got to be a motor vehicle accident or something.
Well, obviously it's a car with a bunch of dynamite in the trunk, and then they rolled into the fucking, arroyo and exploded.
Everyone knows that in the 50s, 60s, maybe early 70s, it was pretty common to drive with just a case of dynamite in your trunk.
Just in case.
So when you did crash...
explodes.
Dynamite in your trunk.
I've seen enough 60s and 70s movies to know that if your car drives off any type of, if there's any type of elevation change and your car goes over that, it's immediate fireball. Like, boom. Like it's,
So dynamite in the trunk and your kid on your dashboard.
Yeah. And they'll go, they would have survived. Had it not been for the case of dynamite.
And your car automatically, within a frame changes to a different model of car, and as you go over and you flip over 5 or 6 times, and then
dude, back in the day, with the way those vehicles were built, they were steel death traps. Fender benders, and people were decapitated.
Yeah. I mean, cars are just metal. They were made of solid steel. Like, it's crazy. Things were heavy as fuck.
And like now you show up to car accidents and the cars are fucking mangled and the people are standing outside hacking at dirt. Like,
here's the thing though. If you were to drive one of those old model cars now, and I think if you got a head-on collision with one of the cars today, you would just blow right through the entire car. You'd be like, nothing. It would turn it to dust. It would look like Thanos snapped his finger. You just keep driving.
Just a solid metal 8,000-pound car.
Yeah.
It would just destroy one of those unibody.
Yeah. Like a new Honda
cars.
Civic.
Yeah.
Gone.
Boom,
dust.
Dead.
So Zamora, as he gets closer to this object, kind of walking along the top of this hill, he sees what he reports to be a metallic egg-shaped object. And from his judgment, from the distance that he's at, he says it's about the size of a sedan, like about a large car. So as he gets nearer, even closer, he realized that this object has a type of like an aluminum sheen to it, because at this point he thought it might have been something chrome, might have been something like that, but he says it's more like an aluminum kind of like solid color as opposed to like the shiny chrome reflective color.
Yeah.
And he said that he could also see what looked like to be like 4 legs or struts reaching out from the bottom of this object that seemed to be supporting it, as it sat on the ground.
Landing gear.
Now, and probably one of the more interesting details about this case is that Zamora reported that this object had some sort of strange insignia, some type of symbol on the side, which he could kind of describe later as being a kind of, he said it's like a side A, or like on the side, it's like a vertical arrow with a horizontal line beneath it, and then with a crescent-shaped line above it. And that's pretty much what he described. It's
kind of like put a picture of it in the group for you, Zell, if you want to put it up.
Did you? I can put it up here.
Put it up. It's like, it's not that dissimilar from the ATT logo.
No.
It's
very similar.
It's quite a little bit of a knockoff. We might have to report them, actually.
That's trademark infringement right there.
Yeah.
People who are familiar with our logo, like it does. Like at first glance, I was like, is that our logo?
if you just like put
a from the
half circle over top.
I was,
it's at least half of the logo is like it's pretty accurate.
It's us from the future, but Braden's driving. He's drunk. Crashes the ship.
Yeah,
there it is.
Look at that.
That's ATT logo.
Look at that thing.
But instead of
pretty close. Move that line up top and
just straighten it out. Straighten that line out, and it's our logo.
Straighten the line out.
Yep.
Right? Is it possible that logo was straight and then we crashed, and however we crashed,
warped
the top
metal
line? Right?
It's just our logo evolved at some point. Just got, so if
it's getting rounder, just like us.
Yeah.
If this encounter at this point,
that's our logo after 6-7 years of podcast.
Too many arroyos.
Now, if that wasn't strange enough, seeing this strange logo, unidentifiable logo on the side of a metallic egg with 4 little legs on the bottom, Zamora actually noticed another thing going on, was that there were these 2 beings that at first he thought they were children, because they seemed to be, in comparison, like the way he could judge the distance and the size of the craft, they didn't seem to be like average height for an adult.
Yeah. Well, and like in his defense, at a certain distance, like if I saw Andrew's kid, I would be like, that's a kid. Like you can just see by the frame, right? Like,
well, yeah, the fucking fact that their head is like fucking more than a quarter of their body.
Right, exactly. And then there's like fauna around too. Yeah. So it's not like you're just seeing this thing of a background of white at a distance. There's markers around for you to like gauge perspective. So it's like, I think this would be like his account of this would be accurate, because I don't think it's very difficult to spot like a child. Like you'd be like, that it was the size of a child. I don't think that's a hard thing to spot at the distance that he describes being.
It'd be easy to see.
And he had his special glasses on too.
Big Coke bottles?
Yeah, the green tinted glasses.
Now, with these 2 beings, they also appeared to be dressed in some type of white overall type of outfits, is what he described. And that these he called them children, or like when they saw him.
So they're wearing Oshkosh Bagosh fucking coat bras.
Oh shit! Little silver Halloween outfits from.
So he said that there seemed to be some type of reaction by these beings when they sighted his car, or him approaching towards this vehicle, this craft or this object. And they said that they seemed to kind of jump in either being startled or afraid when they actually noticed him. Now, Zamora had stopped his cruiser near the edge of the hill that was overlooking the object. And Zamora actually, he had even though he wasn't sure what he was seeing, he still had the idea to be like, I got to radio this in.
He goes back down to his dial. He turns his radio back on after turning it off. Got a signal again. Wreck down in the valley.
So he radioed back to his station with the intention, telling them that I'm going to go check out a wreck down in the arroyo, because that's all he can really describe of what is kind of going on. And so there are reports that when he radioed in, that there was definite static interference, and that I think there's some dispute as to whether his message actually made it through, or he was able to be understood as to what what his intentions were. So, but after he radioed in, he didn't really wait for confirmation. He didn't wait for anything like that. He just proceeded on foot down towards the object until he was stopped short by the sound of another loud, low roar that began to kind of permeate the air.
Well, and some of the description is like he could not only he hear the low roar, but like feel like the bass, like he felt it.
And so Zamora says that he actually recalls hearing a metallic thunk sound, and then this craft began to lift off the ground, and it by when he was looking at it, it seemed to be that there was some type of propulsion coming out to the bottom in the form of a bluish flame that was projecting out of the bottom of the craft and seemed to be pushing it up. So, combustion, basically your basic rocket kind of looking like.
So he noticed the hobbits, the aliens, let's say, but then the craft started to lift off. He just didn't see them run back in, or were they like on?
I think he went to go back.
The craft.
I think he went to go back to radio in, and then they were gone. Like they
darted back to the oval to take off.
Like I think he originally he walked up to the edge of that hill, like his cruiser was
had
kind
to
of
look down.
Back, and he had to look down in it, and they saw, they might have saw him, and that's where he got, he got the.
Well, they were startled, right? Like they kind of noticed him. They stopped what they were doing, so obviously they knew something was up.
And that's what he describes, that he gets the idea that there's a startled or some kind of reaction is elicited from them seeing him. And so then he goes back to his car, or he goes back to his cruiser, and he radios in. He comes back, they're gone. He goes back, he starts approaching the craft down the hill. He starts hearing this loud roar, rumbling sound. The craft begins to lift off of the ground. And so at this point, not really knowing what else to do, he dives to the ground. Near his, I think it's like near his car. He runs back to his cruiser and kind of dives to the ground, thinking that something's going to explode. Because what else in 1960? What else do you think it's going to be except some type of rocket, some type of dynamite rocket, something that?
Well, and obviously he's feeling the effects from whatever propulsion is like. It's hitting, like he's getting hit with wind and like heat probably. So that's probably where that fear comes from, is that he's feeling this propulsion system taking off, right? So yeah, he's like, holy fuck. Like, could you imagine standing next to a rocket and you're like that within 50 feet? Like, I imagine as it started to go, you'd be like, it'd be face melting almost. You'd be like, holy fuck, I'm in trouble.
So whatever the propulsion is of this craft, it's much more, you notice it rather than other UFOs, that seem to just float and hover silently and accelerate.
So maybe a bit more rudimentary.
Well, maybe, but part of the thing that, I was thinking that, we kind of talked about it on the Silurian hypothesis with Ben, is that like, is it a propulsion system, or is what he saw the only way he could like describe it with something he knows would be to describe it, be like, this, had to been because this is how I know things to work. And this is kind of what I saw. Does that mean that it was a propulsion system, or maybe it was some sort of like, acoustic,
some deadly death flame that they shoot out to melt people?
Right. Yeah. And like it was just blue. And he's like, it had to have been fire. I felt heat. I heard rumble, and this is what I know. So this is the best I can explain, but it's really no signs that we know, and not the propulsion system that we think of. Possibly, like that's maybe a possibility in this, because to be honest, traditional propulsion like that does not seem like the best kind of avenue for interstellar travel. No. It's not. It would not happen.
Very terrestrial.
It would take you, if you go with light years to get anywhere. Like it would take you forever. If you just direct line propulsion, just fire up a rocket, going as fast as you can, and just drift. Unless they're androids, and they can drift forever and never.
Maybe that's like maybe this is their pod though, and maybe that's what they use to travel around Earth.
Oh, like a landing craft,
like a rover.
Yeah.
Right, and I kind of thought that too, because I was thinking that perhaps if they thought they were landing in the desert, or perhaps they've been here before, they're like, oh, we know that this is not in like a habitable spot. And then they land and they're like, hey, fucking selfies. Hey, look at us in the desert. And then all of a sudden they're like, fucking Lonnie Zamora comes over the hill. They're like, what the fuck? Like, they can drive now? Like, we got to get the fuck out of here. We just broke all the non-contact rules.
Zamora actually looked up from the ground. He lifted his head and was able to watch the craft, as he described it, seemingly hovering in one place above the ground. And then from his recollection, the struts at the bottom of the craft were gone, whether they had retracted or disappeared or whatever, that somehow they were gone. So it was just a smooth aluminum aluminum sheathed object just kind of sitting up there. And then he said that the craft then moved away to the southeast for about 15 or 20 miles until it disappeared from sight.
And like he's pretty shook at this point in time because then he beelines it back to his car and hops on the radio and asks the dispatcher, like, look out your window. Can you see this? And then the dispatcher's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, what are you seeing? He's like, I don't know, like an air balloon or something like that. Like, this doesn't make any sense.
How fast did it travel? It doesn't seem like it said like it vanished over the horizon. Like it seemed like he watched it.
It didn't just like instantaneously move. I mean, he just kind of described watching it as it just kind of traveled fast enough to kind of just go 15 or 20 miles over the horizon. Then just that was it until it was out of sight. Zamora is, understandably shook by what he has seen. And so one of the first people that he calls to come in and, back him up is he calls New Mexico State Police Sergeant Sam Chavez, who is both a professional and a personal acquaintance of Zamora. Like they had worked together, they knew each other, like they were friends. And so he called him just to get somebody over there that he knew and that he could,
trusted,
talk
right?
to.
Like a trusted source. That's not like it's. To be honest, like it'd be like if I saw something shitty or crazy. It's not like I'm gonna call. Like if I called someone I didn't know, they would potentially think I'm bullshitting. But if I called, one of you three to be like, listen, what I'm going to tell you,
absolutely know you're bullshitting.
You're like, this is just another one of your fucking tall tales. Right? Before we get into what he and Sam Chavez talked about, why don't we take a quick beer break?
Let's do it. We'll be right back.
Woo! So where we left off, Zamora, after just seeing some shit, he's calling his good buddy, Police Sergeant Sam Chavez, to come and assist. And, he wants to vent to him, obviously, about what he just saw.
Like we said before, Zamora and Chavez are on personal terms. Like they're both friends. And Chavez has described Zamora, in documentaries and interviews and stuff, that he describes Zamora as being a trustworthy police officer and somebody who is not prone to making up stories. So he's not the type of guy that's going to just make something up just to goof around or, get attention or something like that.
To be honest, like, again, people are like, yeah, that doesn't mean shit. But it's like, you know what? If you're a police officer and that's your career, you're a career police officer, and you make up a hoax like this, like you run the risk of like losing your career. Mm-hmm. Because you're lying. Because if you're lying about this, you can't be trusted with other shit. So it's like, to me, I'm like, is there police officers who would fucking go ahead and lie? And I'm like, yes, we see it all the time. But to be, oh, yes, I did find those drugs there. Like, oh, I didn't hit him that many times. Those kind of lies, 100%. For just a cop to just be like, hey, randomly lie about this, it's, to me, I'm like, the risk reward, like, is way off bounds because you're like, what are you getting from this if this is a hoax?
But not even that, too. It's not like he's not hopping on dispatch and being like, I saw an alien.
No,
I saw, like he's like, I don't know what I saw. I don't understand what this is. This is fucking weird. Like, I don't see any angle where this guy would benefit from fucking making the story up.
No, definitely not.
So Zamora at this point is still visibly, he's still shaken from the event, and Chavez has to kind of like coax him into going down to where the craft actually was. Some reports have Zamora being like hesitant to kind of go down, like not really sure of what he saw and being kind of, I don't want to go down there just because of what I saw.
Smells like a smart man.
And so, but they, he manages to get him down there, and they go and they survey the scene of where the craft had been and then had lifted off the ground. So what they find is that apparently they're reported to have found these indentations on the ground. So 4 indentations that measured around it was like 8 inches, like 8 inches long, 9 wide, 9 deep.
Yeah, I think that's 1,300 centimeters or something. I don't know. I don't know the conversion.
And so they find that. They find apparently like some of the some of the stuff, like a lot of disturbance around the ground. There's some signs of stuff being kind of some singeing or some kind of like heat, smoldering kind of going around.
Well, and then like I was reading one account too that they said that the ground had been compacted so hard that it's almost looked like a glass-like texture.
Yeah, so it's been some like
heat blasted the whole surface.
It's interesting because it's almost like he contacts this buddy of his from another department to come here to be like, I need you here to verify this so that people like me to not be a bullshitter, so that when we report this out, people don't think I'm full of shit. Like that's to me what it seems like.
He's looking for little backup. Well,
and by all accounts, like everybody that ended up coming, because eventually more people came to the scene, more Socorro officers ended up showing up. And one of them actually said that the bushes were smoldering like someone cut them from the top with some big flamethrower. Lonnie was as white as a corpse, and he ain't exactly no pale face normally. He was sweating like a spent horse, but it was a cold sweat.
So he shook.
Yeah, he shook, and there's fucking, like you got burning bushes everywhere. Like, oh.
Well, again, the gravity
maybe this was
of like
Jesus. Maybe the burning bush.
Moses was the burning bush.
He lost his opportunity.
Moses, Jesus, who gives a shit? Yeah. It's
tell him how to build a tabernacle.
There's a couple.
The thing for me is I'm like, too, like if you think you saw this, like truly, like you can't. The one thing you can't fake are like signs of like shock like that, where you're just like ghostly white. So it's like that to me is like the gravity of this man has just seen something where he's now starting to question, what did I see? Who was that? And then it's probably changing his whole outlook on life right now of just like, were these aliens? Did I see aliens? Did I see what I think I saw? Right? Like it's the impact of actually seeing that and then knowing firsthand, like where you're just like, it doesn't matter if anyone ever believes me. I know, I now have knowledge that we are not alone. Like the pure like impact of that on you must be huge if that happened to you.
Yeah. Like where you're just like, he's convinced that it was aliens though.
Right. Like, just, a lot of times the fact that you're seeing something that I can't explain from my frame of reference. Like I have no idea what I just saw. Like I saw these small looking people over there hop into a metal egg, go up into the sky and take off. And I have no idea how any of that works. And just having to explain that to people, would put me on edge. Just being like, I don't know how to explain any of this. I don't know what I saw. So having people kind of come in and back up and like, did I really see something?
Yeah. And then because you would be questioning everything because like you're now having other people come in, you're like, am I crazy? Did I see this? Did I see what I think I saw? Are these people going to be judging me? Are they like, I imagine the gravity of the situation is almost probably overwhelming.
Yeah, but luckily for Zamora, there were actually quite a bit of other witnesses to this event.
Right. And we have we also have there was physical evidence. There was physical evidence of something, which is a lot of kind of UFO sightings. You really don't have anything to go on besides I saw something.
I saw something. It was this big. It was this fast. It was this color.
It was this light. It was this light stood here for a second, took off. Okay. But this one, they have actual physical evidence on the ground that you can touch and feel and look at and interact and examine. So the very next day, April 25th, they had military investigators out on the scene. It's not that unusual, I would say, because they were sent by the nearby White Sands Army base. So people aren't familiar with White Sands, like we've talked about a couple times. It's famous for being where the first atomic bomb test, Trinity, occurred. It's where they detonated there.
You got shit around this area. So if someone's reporting something unidentified that the military didn't know about, I am sure they are fucking more than interested.
Especially at this time, right?
Yeah.
Right. 64.
Well, maybe they're heading back to prevent the testing of the atomic bomb.
So
they just missed it by
got their timing wrong.
Missed it by a decade,
right?
Yeah, missed it by decades. Yeah, so that test was on July 1945.
Yeah, happens.
Missed it.
I mean, time travel is probably not an easy thing. You just set that dial just wrong. You get 20 years off.
Yeah, you're like, fuck.
So the person they send on to go ahead and get the on-site information is Army Captain Richard T. Holder, and he was the uprange commander. And
Dick Holder?
Yes.
Did you just say his name is Dick Holder?
Yes.
That is quite... I love how they add the E in there to try to throw you off so you don't make the connection that his name, or your T, so you don't make the name Dick Holder, but let's just refer to him as Dick Holder from here on out.
I'm also familiar with the the military culture, so I'm sure he got so much shit for that until he until he made probably made lieutenant. He probably got a bunch of shit for it. So so along with Army Captain Holder, they sent FBI agent D. Arthur Burns Jr. From the Albuquerque office. So you had a bunch of federal people coming down, military and federal authorities coming in to kind of check this out. So surprisingly enough, it was kind of interesting because the Lonnie Zamora case is actually featured on an episode of the old Unsolved Mysteries TV show.
Phenomenal.
I watched it. It was amazing.
I love the scene where the ship's blasting off and it's like blowing. He's like, hiding behind the car. It's phenomenal.
Anything with Robert Stack, fantastic. Great Ultra Magnus. Whatever. You can listen to him talk all day. And so on that episode of Unsolved Mysteries, Captain Holder actually was on there and gave, for the first time, an interview and spoke publicly about arriving on the scene of the Zamora incident, as it's kind of the Lonnie Zamora incident, as it's now kind of known. He talks about how originally his first thought was it was something that had come from the range. Like it was something like a missile test or something had gone, gotten the guidance system got messed up, wind shear, whatever. But it was something that had come from their base and just had shot off course and hit there. And that was his first thing. When he got there, he said that the first thing that he noticed were those indentations on the ground, these uniform indentations sitting in a kind of like I think they were about like 90 degrees from each other, just sitting there.
Yeah, that's weird.
In the ground. And then he also noticed... And then he also noticed, or he took notice of the scorch areas and the brush surrounding the area. And the reenactment is great because they have the guy who's playing Holder like walk around and like grab some branches off a bush and like put them in his mouth. And he's like, those are burnt. Yeah. I'm like, what? Like, why would you have to put them in your mouth?
Everyone knows that's the way you got to taste it.
You're like, oh, this looks burnt. Like, you can kind of rub it on your fingers, like get some ash on it. No, you got to stick it in your fucking.
Yeah, he's like, I know what burnt food tastes like.
I wonder if he told them that he did that, or they shot that, and we're just like, yeah, do that. Like,
well, he's tasting for accelerants, right? Like he wants to know what.
Honestly, let's be real.
Yeah.
And to be honest, because it's like actors reenacting, I'm sure they do shit to like make each other laugh on set. They're like, yeah, throw that in. Fuck it. Right? Like,
so they went in and they investigated. They couldn't really find much. They documented what they could. They wrote down what there is. It didn't seem like anything, anybody was in any immediate danger from what had happened. And then the day after that, in April 26, you had Major William Connor from Kirtland Air Force Base and Sergeant David Moody, who were also in the area on temporary duty status. They investigated for Air Force Project Blue Book. And they came in. So they also came in, and they came along with, Dr. J. Allen Hynek actually arrived 2 days later.
Who we've talked
April
about
28th.
Tons of times.
So, and so Hynek came in, this is an official, a lot of people like, this is one of the better, one of the kind of definitive cases from Project Blue Book. This is one of the more popular cases of one of those ones that, they have the 300 and some that are just unknown.
The 5% unexplained.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Hector Quintanilla Jr., who was the former head of Project Blue Book, has spoken about the Lonnie Zamora incident and how it relates to Project Blue Book. And, you know, he's quoted as saying that everything that was humanly possible to verify was checked. You know, they brought in the Geiger counters from Kirtland. He brought in Geiger counters from Kirtland Air Force Base to test for radiation in the landing area. They took soil samples and they sent those off to the Air Force Materials Laboratory. I mean, they did everything that they possibly could. And even though you had the soil analysis disclosed that there was no real foreign material present in those samples, and that the radiation there just seemed normal for what would be in that area.
But like that, to me, that just says if there was something there, whatever took off didn't leave anything behind that was foreign, and whatever it wasn't radioactive. Right? Like, it's like when you read this and some of the things, they make it sound like this is somehow discrediting this. I find that sometimes the way it's written, this part is it's discrediting. And I'm like, I don't think this is discrediting it at all. It's just saying that it's not, whatever it was not radioactive. And from their looking around, they couldn't find anything that wasn't.
From the fucking branch tasting.
Yeah. From the branch tasting, they're like, nothing extraterrestrial here.
And well, listen, like I question all these guys' fucking ability to observe to begin with. If you got to taste the fucking burnt branch, don't it's burnt. Right?
Yeah, burnt, overdone, crisp.
Yeah. And Quintanilla kind of went a little bit further, talking about pretty much like what they had to go on was what Lonnie Zamora saw. And so, you know, he's quoted as saying, there's no doubt that Lonnie Zamora saw an object which left quite an impression on him. There's no question about Zamora's reliability. He is a serious police officer, a pillar of his church, and a man well-versed in recognizing airborne vehicles in the area. He is puzzled by what he saw, and frankly, so are we. You know, and kind of in the conclusion of like, you know, talking about this, Quintanilla kind of summed it all up. And he said, this is the best documented case on record. And still we have been unable, in spite of thorough investigation, to find the vehicle or other stimulus that scared Zamora to the point of panic. So,
boom, mic drop.
It's fucking wild. It's wild. Like this guy... you know, it's got to be a little bit of vindication for him where they're like, there's people who research this stuff who are like, yeah, we don't know either, man. Like, yeah, we can't disprove what you saw.
Yeah, we've investigated hundreds of these sightings, and this one.
They can't disprove it, but can they cover it up?
Oh.
Because that's what I saw when I was doing a little bit of digging.
A little digging?
Right. So when I was reading about it, remember that logo that you pulled up, Braden?
Yeah.
The ATT ripoff.
Well, there's a reason why there's two of them, because supposedly Zamora states that Holder had reported him or informed him that he was to tell all reporters and anyone else that it was a different logo, and like gave him an example of the logo. So not the rounded one that looks like ours, but the other one.
This one.
On the left. Yeah. He told them, he's like, this is the one that you're going to use to tell reporters and everyone else this is what you saw, which is a little bit bizarre. And then supposedly when they went back to the scene, all that, the glass-like material that was created that they all witnessed was all gone. And one of the police officers, what's his name? Give me one sec. Ted Jordan. He worked for the Sacaro police, and he was one of the like third or fourth on scene. His job was to go and take pictures for evidence of the scene. And supposedly he got on camera what looked to be maybe like possible footprints at the scene, right? Maybe those beings that they saw. The camera was confiscated because they wanted to go through it, and then they were told he would get it back. When he asked for it back eventually, they said, oh, all the photos were destroyed due to radiation.
Classic. I feel like we've heard that before on a case, a similar thing where they've confiscated and then ruined the footage. Like, whoops, accident. But that's interesting because, like, to me, like, when you look at if there was glass left behind as reported, it wouldn't surprise me that an agency would collect it all for analysis, right? Yeah. So, like, it's gone. And, like, whether or not they are actually true to, like, letting us know what their findings were, just, like, nothing, right? Like, that's where it's like, are we getting all the information from this?
But, like, because now, like, the Blue Book the entire Blue Book, well, I'm sure some of the stuff's redacted, but the reports on this have been released, right?
Yeah.
And there are tons of photos of that scene. And I don't know if these are the photos that they confiscated from the cop, but they have like tags on them saying possible footprints, stuff like that on them.
So they say that the photographs were ruined because of radiation.
Yeah. And then they said there wasn't a ton of radiation at the scene. No abnormal amounts of radiation, but yet it's ruining cameras.
Well, even because I read this a while ago. I think I remember reading it when we talked about the fake moon landings, about how like the radiation should ruin the film. It can be protected, blah, blah, blah. But if it does get exposed to radiation, it's unprocessed. The film, it still can still be developed, but it causes like a radiation fog on the film.
Yeah, I mean, you can look up the photos that they took of the original like Chernobyl reactor core meltdown. Like you can see those are examples of like radiation, like that fog is what you're talking about.
Yeah, like the fog imprints over like
it's like a static. Yeah.
It's like
over the picture. So it's like, but it also would have to be a lot.
Yeah, it has to be concentrated. Yeah, right next to the.
Like, I mean, this picture I'm talking about. If people look it up, it's like they were like in the building next to the reactor, like as it was melting down. So it's kind of like it has a lot of radiation.
Well, yeah. So so if they say, oh, the film's damaged due to radiation, it's like it's not. You could still see what's on it. It just wouldn't be as clear. So
yeah, and like
this is a bad excuse.
For it to be actually ruined because of radiation, the level would have to be absolutely insane.
Yeah, whoever took the picture would be melted.
Or Hulk.
Yeah. Some type of superpower. So cover up. I like it. So if this was an ET extraterrestrial presence, Men in Black. Been covering it up since day one.
Yep. Neuralizing, racing film, all the above.
So there are a couple of explanations that have been posited as a kind of perhaps a source of what Lonnie Zamora saw. And really, like to most of them, it's like, I mean, you can look them up and we'll go through them right here real quick. But a lot of them is like, to me, even me thinking them through, I'm like, I don't know. Even a couple of them don't sit well with me. So one of the more popular explanations is that around the same time, 1964, NASA was actually testing the early engineering model of Surveyor, the original lunar probe that was going to go to the moon in 1966. And so the testing was actually performed at Holloman Air Force Base. Now, if you guys are familiar with the structure of like the Surveyor, there's like no, just thinking about it, you're like, there's no way
semblance at all.
I was like, no, it's all jagged angles. It's
you
all
wouldn't
like
describe it as a smooth metallic egg.
No. And especially that, the struts, especially when the Surveyor is like two separate pieces. It's like there's the bottom platform part that is that when they're done and they get back into the module, like the module blasts off and you leave the platform behind. So it's like that would have been left there, and I'm pretty sure it's still on the moon.
Yeah. And the other thing is, it would have been fucking slapped with NASA logos all over it.
Well, right? Not necessarily yet. If it's
I think even in the test run, it would have had that shit on it.
Oh yeah.
Right? And I don't think they would have been like,
either would have had
fly it away.
Either would have had NASA logos or swastikas on it.
So
let's say if they're testing it at Holloman, did they just go off course and they landed not too far away from the highway?
It's kind of far though. It is way like even Holloman Air Force Base is like way away, and it's like it would be a monumental navigation
major malfunction.
No way.
And also, fucking Lonnie Zamora would have had to been like his eyesight so bad to be like, it's a silver egg.
Yeah.
No, dude, that guy had HD wraparounds. Those green fucking aviators they had on. Like
there's just like no way. Like I've seen that as like the leading theory, and I'm like, how it doesn't even add up. It doesn't even look similar. There's nothing to me that says that it would be the Surveyor.
None of these do.
Another explanation is possibly so. apparently, Linus Pauling, who's a famous chemist, and he's well known apparently in the chemistry circles as he's a 2-time Nobel Prize winner. He won two-time. He won one for chemistry, and he won an actual like a Nobel Peace Prize. After his death, a letter was found in his files, in his personal correspondence in 1968, which he had sent to Sterling Colgate, who had been, at that time, the president of New Mexico Tech. And so at the bottom, there was a handwritten reply, and there was a postscript in this letter. And Pauling apparently had asked Colgate what the people at New Mexico Tech thought about the Lonnie Zamora incident. Like, it had become popular to that point, enough that people kind of around the area knew about it and around the state. And Colgate said that Colgate is said to have written back, "I have a good indication of a student who engineered hoax. Student has left."
Yeah.
Cover up.
Now, the thing is, I'm like, if you think there's, I'm sure in different towns and university towns, because like in Kelowna, the engineering program usually does some sort of engineering hoax every year. Most of the time, it has to do with sneaking, and they suspend something off the bottom of the bridge. Right? Like, I can't remember what it's been in the past, but usually they suspend something off the bottom. That's the engineering hoax. I'm like, I kind of looked into this because, like, what was it? He worked at the campus. Was he a security guard or a teacher or something?
He was a security guard.
Security guard for many years.
Not well liked.
Yeah, and people hated him. So the theory goes that, they were like, we're going to fuck with him. So they got together with all the other students on campus, and they set up the AV club, the fucking energetics lab had pyrotechnics going off. They had students that, raced through town to get his attention to draw him out to this location. And then the ship was nothing more than a balloon with a candle in it. Right. And like at a point, I'm like,
what about the explosion?
This is, that was just the fucking classic dynamite that everyone had.
Yes, everybody has on hand in New Mexico.
Yeah.
Pocket dynamite.
Yeah, pocket dynamite. The thing is, I'm like, okay, sure. Like, if you're gonna tell me that's what it is, this is fucking 64?
Yeah.
If they're gonna set up enough speaker system they're gonna set up a speaker system in the desert to shake Zamora while he's in pursuit of a car on the highway. They're not just packing that shit up and leaving in 1964, right? Like, that's station, like the whole thing of this being some sort of university hoax to me is ludicrous, because I can't even begin to start piecing together how this would work in any sense of it.
Well, and the biggest point for me,
that's why you don't go to an engineering school.
It's true. Fair enough.
The biggest thing for me, it's like there's no fucking gotcha good fucker moment.
No.
Like, they don't even know that they fucked with them. What's the point of hoaxing somebody?
Well, I would say that's also brought up. Like, that idea is brought up. But then you have the military and federal authorities showed up the next day. If you hop out and say, hey, fuck you, I got you. You've got the FBI and you've got the United States military involved breathing down your neck. So it's probably something, and you're in a prestigious school and, engineering program. Probably don't want to get involved.
I'm just saying the likelihood of this is fucking almost no way.
Remember, like, Wacky Racers, or like, better example, like James Bond. You remember how he had like oil slicks and everything in his car and guns and all this other cool shit? Maybe these fucking teenagers, they just had a fucking escape mechanism in their trunk, hit it, fucking thing flies up, goes that way, cop gets distracted, they get away.
Well, it was like, they said they said, like, one of the theories is that it was nothing more than a balloon with a candle that was being towed by a vehicle to make it look like it was taking off. I'm like, you would have seen the fucking vehicle. Like, none of this adds up, right? For me to just be able to be like, it was those pesky kids again.
That's a very.
Yeah, I mean, it is a really weird hoax, because you're like, okay, no, like, like, is alien thing big enough to be like, yeah, we're gonna hoax him? Usually you want to make it kind of personal, I would imagine. Like it just seems like Lonnie Zamora never had.
You want to embarrass him. Like if
right, you could embarrass him and stuff, but it's still like, yeah, you want to kind of do something that's personal and like Andrew said, I would imagine you want to be something like, haha, got you. Like, remember me, asshole? Like, you know, and none of that, because Lonnie Zamora is not a person who's ever spoken to UFOs or had, expressed interest in UFOs to most of the reports, I believe. This was just something that's like, okay, like we're going to catch him with this alien UFO prank. And it's like, that seems kind of out of left field.
Maybe they left way more evidence than they had planned to, because they were going to play this prank on him. He's going to freak out, say, I saw aliens, and assume nobody was going to believe him. So everybody thought he was crazy. But people actually believed him because they saw evidence when they came to the scene.
Well, if they didn't want evidence, they wouldn't have lit the fucking bush, lit up the fucking forest.
Well, the candle. The thing's got a little candle.
You know what's funny about the description about the balloon with the candle is that's the exact same description that David Weiss said about the flat Earth, why rockets were fake. They're nothing more than a balloon with a firecracker attached to the bottom.
Yeah.
Seems legit.
So it could be a flat Earth hoax too. Same time.
No, it's
good. One of the more interesting explanations that I came across, or kind of thing that has a few more kind of moving parts to it. Apparently, there is some people who think that this whole event was created or thought out by the mayor of Socorro. Like it was an event that he had kind of masterminded in order to drum up tourism.
And like Socorro, the population of Socorro has like never cracked 10,000. It's like a mining town. There's fucking nobody there. Like it's.
So the evidence to support this is there are a couple newspaper clippings from 1965 about an 80-minute documentary film on UFOs that was titled Phenomena 7.7 and was actually put into production by a Hollywood studio named Empire Film Studios. And from what I can see, like I Googled this and it's like, it's on AMC, like it's on like this film at some point somewhere, there's documents that it did exist. And this film is actually even mentioned in a 1965 correspondence, which was written by J. Allen Hynek, Project Blue Book. The film's producer, Michael Musto, actually sent a letter talking about the film to the mayor of Socorro, who is named Holm O. Bursarum Jr. There's a lot of juniors. There's a lot of juniors. Think about it.
Naming your kid Junior back in the day was a lot more common.
Yeah. So Musto, the producer, stated, Phenomena 7.7 is now completed. It will be viewed by countless millions of people throughout the world. It will open the doors to facts heretofore shrouded in secrecy. It will prepare the entire human race for a better knowledge of the universe and possible neighbors who have been observing our Earth for centuries.
Yeah. Then the U.S. government was like, nah, no, it won't.
Or it's that's basic promo stuff that it's like, this stuff's gonna change the world, which is I've heard that stuff before. And so Project Blue Book actually in their files actually contain Dr. Hynek's letter on his 1965 Socorro visit, and he wrote in regards to Sergeant Sam Chavez that Chavez had told him that Zamora didn't want to be in the picture. But it was actually at the mayor's insistence that the mayor had put pressure on Zamora's boss to try and coax Zamora into doing so, into taking part in this documentary. And Hynek said, I can't really believe this, that Zamora was against his will was put in this film, because he got the impression when he talked to Zamora later, it seemed that Zamora was actually kind of pleased about being in the movie, mentioning it in conversation.
Yeah, so would I.
Yeah, I'm going to be famous.
Yeah. When Andrew was in the fucking a wife's lover or whatever the fuck he was in, he didn't shut up for a year.
Yeah, but hey, I still got those headshots.
Right? Here we go again. Right?
For you.
Why wouldn't you be excited?
Sorry, sorry that I'm kind of famous.
Yeah. All right, whatever you say, Zamora.
I'm an actor.
So the film, the film was actually set to be shown for the first time in Socorro, but did not really get a wide release as it had been anticipated. The film to this day has never been found in any archives or records since then. Like it was
the movie version of Polybius here.
Yeah.
Apparently there was a couple of small releases and a few of kind of, scheduled lectures of those things. And there was actually,
so it went straight to DVD.
Something like that. But there was actually a NICAP. People remember NICAP, the progenitor of MUFON, a civilian UFO investigation organization, that they had some members who actually watched it, and they actually had kind of negative things to say about it. Apparently this film, to them, or the people who are watching it, they seem to get the idea that this film was very much putting forth a commercial kind of message about Socorro. They were saying, it's quoted as saying, like, it shows a lot of motels and restaurant owners as highly pleased that so many tourists are now coming to see the land.
Nobody wants to buy the Lonnie Zamora action figures, all right? No need for the ad at that.
Yeah.
And so there,
the mayor's like, I want the tourist info stocked with these.
And apparently there was a bit, and there's a bit more to it, but just to kind of give an overall kind of sum up the whole thing, the whole drama thing, is that apparently, like, there was some dispute as to whether NICAP was directly involved in the production of the movie. Like there was something about either Musto or some of the other production had mentioned in the promotions being like, NICAP endorsed this, or endorsed by NICAP, blah blah blah, and NICAP being like, no, Musto or one of the other producers was involved in NICAP. He was a member, but we didn't know he was making a movie until like it came out, and now we see it, and we're not happy about it, but we weren't involved officially in the production of this.
You think
film,
that's why they were
which
mad?
may or may not exist at this point.
Yeah, it is. We don't know. Like, to be honest, look for it. Like, hashtag fucking look it up. You can't find that shit anywhere.
But I will say, like, in 1966, 2 years after that, the president of Socorro County's Chamber of Commerce, Paul Ridings, actually proposed developing the site of Zamora's encounter to make it more accessible to tourists. I assume putting in more than just like a gravelly road and a steep hill to
make
get
a
into
monument
it.
in the middle of the desert in Socorro.
It's good for tourism. I'd do the same.
It would be what's the Roswell town we went to, or the Area 51 town we went to? Rachel,
yeah.
Rachel, Nevada.
Without Area 51
16 trailers and a restaurant.
Yeah, Rachel, Nevada.
But that restaurant was ran by a mercenary.
By the Mersk. 100%.
That was still one of the strangest things that happened to us.
Yeah, it was very fucking odd.
If you don't know what we're talking about, go listen to the Area 51 recap. It's fucking weird.
Yeah.
So those are pretty much the big explanations. People try to explain this as to what it is. So either it was an actual thing, the lunar lander, it being some type of hoax, or it being just a completely fabricated event, at the behest of the mayor, maybe trying to get in on a bit of the Roswell coattail, ride in on the Roswell train, get a piece of that action.
Or it could simply be aliens.
Sure,
100%.
Or it could it's NASA testing the lunar lander or something, but maybe it's just a military experimental craft. At this time we had all those crazy UFO looking experimental crafts that never really flew that well. So maybe they flew it from Holloman, they kind of crashed it a bit, Or there's a massive backfire. It dropped out of the sky. That was the explosion. Yeah. They managed to get it going again. Get it going again. They take off. And then, they come back.
They see Lonnie. They're like, oh, fuck, get in the crowd. Go.
And then they come back. They clean the scene.
The most expendable people we've got? Two children. Short guys. Let's send them.
Yeah. Well, they're probably the only ones that would fit. And some of those experimental crafts are like,
the specs are you had to be 5 feet, 120 pounds just to fit in the fucking thing or something.
Yeah.
And then from a distance, like a small person from a distance, like that's a child. Like, so it could be experimental aircraft, because as far as like people say that's like the best evidence of like ET craft. But I'm like, it doesn't check any of the boxes of the ET craft we always talk about, like the UFOs. It doesn't have like the warping of time and space, or
there's no instantaneous movement.
No, and like so like an actual propulsion like burnt on the ground makes it seem like like some type of like a jet or something of that nature, because they had. And the other thing around this time was what year was Rendlesham? Because that was another thing with the landing prints, and like that was kind of similar.
Rendlesham. Let me type that in.
Quick Google eyes. It's been a long time since we did Rendlesham, but that landing was very similar. As it did have
December 26, 1980.
So later on, but it had actually imprints on the ground, and seemingly some type of evidence of something that took off in the area. So who knows? But yes, it doesn't seem like a super advanced interdimensional or intergalactic craft. Unless like Andrew said it earlier in the episode, so they have like a mothership, let's say. It's invisible. We can't see it. But when they want to come to Earth, they use something that we use, like technology we use, to like kind of try and blend in a little bit, let's say. Maybe they're poking around. Or they're investigating the dynamite shacks. Like, what are these? What's wrong with these people? You can't just keep these out in the elements.
Who were they thinking?
These were the Acme Coyoteans, and they have to fight their interstellar war against the Roadrunner civilization. So they got to get as much dynamite as they can.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's Lonnie's definitely, he was shook. It seems like he's 100% telling. He's a straight shooter, just telling it as it is.
Shooter.
Yeah, and like we said, this case is very interesting for the fact that it is like an official one, that the one of those official 5% of cases that went unsolved in Project Blue Book, and that the department went on to actually speak of and reference and be like that we don't know. We did all the tests that we could and we didn't find anything, but Zamora saw something, he saw something, and we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So, to actually just admit that, and whether that's like, it's them just being like, it's hard to be like, they say they don't know, maybe they actually don't know, and just you can also be the military is covering it up, and it's like, well, okay, yeah, it's one of the two. So I mean, you can believe whatever you want, but it is like maybe they really don't know,
just and then idea
maybe they do, and they just covered it up. But it is, again, it has a lot of moving parts to this case, and it is kind of fun. It is a good unsolved mysteries thing. And Zamora has never really. Zamora spoke about it in his interview in the Unsolved Mysteries, talking about kind of like, he got shit for it. Like, he got shit for this whole thing, like people calling him up, trying to talk to him and whatever. And he kind of just like, shortly after this, he just refused to talk about it. He just didn't.
He resented it.
Yeah, he didn't want to talk about it anymore. Like, he didn't want to.
People were showing up at his house. They were calling him. Yeah. They were approaching him in public. Like, he's like, I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah. So, Zamora it's moved on to that, but, he's still, it still made an impact on him, and still like in the Unsolved Mysteries and stuff, he still talks about it, and he's still kind of like, I saw something. I don't know what it is. And that's just it. And people believe me, people don't believe me. That's all I can really do.
But again, the thing, the crowd that says that maybe he perpetuated the hoax or lied, to what end? Like, that's the thing. Like, what do you get out of that? Right?
Well, it seems like a really, when people kind of involve the mayor in that theory. It is a very like a harebrained scheme, like to me.
Yeah.
It is something that's kind of like, it's like,
was this fucking Mayor Quimby or what?
Yeah, it's like, what? Like, yeah.
It just doesn't end up. I'm a firm believer of there was something landed that we don't know what it was in Socorro, New Mexico.
It's very Scooby Doo. It's very Scooby Doo. We're gonna do this. The mayor did it. There's the mayor the whole time trying to drum up tourism for his new oil drilling project.
And he would have got away with it if it wasn't for pesky military and police officers doing your jobs.
Pesky Lonnie Zamora.
It's it's interesting. The propulsion on the craft. I chalk that up to Lonnie. He was just chalking that up to trying to explain it the best he could with what he knows. But that doesn't mean that this thing was jet propelled or, combustion engine like we know today. Maybe it was something completely different that's just the closest thing that he could, make sense of.
Perhaps. Cool case, though.
Let us know what you think.
Hell yeah. And if you haven't heard, we briefly mentioned Rendlesham. That's go way back to case file 61. Woohoo! Way back in the day. We explore
hashtag check it out.
Rendlesham Forest. All right, and if you're not supporting the show by now, double barrel.
Do it. Listen. At this point, you guys already fucked us because we're not getting hair. We've realized it. So listen. Join Patreon so we can get some nice razors so we can keep these domes.
We've lowered our expectations. It's okay. Yeah.
We want to keep these domes nice and chromed. So donate to Patreon today.
Get the glare off? Is there anything like some cream?
We need head wax or whatever. We need powder to like get the glare off, keep it nice and smooth.
So now it's we need money for filters to get rid of the glare or some wax or something.
We need sick workout headbands now to keep the sweat from pouring off of our heads into our eyes.
LeBron
While
James
we're theorizing.
Style.
Yeah. So you know where to go to support us.
AlienTheorist.com. Hit that support tab. In exchange for a little bit of support, we're going to offer you back hundreds of hours of bonus content, early access to all the case files, ad-free, all the bonus stuff we've ever done. It's a simple trade. Help your boys out. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
Andrew, start us off on a couple names.
All right, so we got our newest supporters, Courtney White, Stefan Petkus, Maisie Foster, Sean Fazani, and Kaylee Welch.
And we got Swayze subbing for the Nookie.
Nice.
Lucamus. Mike,
that's cool, man.
Lucamus. That's dope. Michael Ervit. Liger Rider. Like it.
Hey, and a special shout out to longtime listener of the show who recently was hit by a car, Noah. We hope you recover and you get better.
How bad? Is he alive?
He's alive.
He's got checked out. He's okay. He's fine.
It was like a couple weeks ago now, but hey, he's fine.
Well, heal up, buddy.
He's like Iron Man or Superman. He's back. He's coming back.
Speedy recovery, brother.
He's gonna call in cosmic channels all drugged up. So, anyways, we hope you get better. We hate to hear it. Hopefully, you can binge a lot of the episodes you're missing.
Hell yeah, man! All the best.
And why don't you go find a T-shirt, whatever? Pick a T-shirt if you want on our website.
Pick a T-shirt, any T-shirt.
Share a post. Do what you can to help Alien Theorists theorizing. We appreciate it. And as we always say at the end of these things, keep those eyes